Yo, what's up guys, and welcome to a brand new video on SoRare. And today what we're going to be doing is covering the games that happened on Saturday and overnight, and what investments there are for the limited and underdog tournament as a result. As always, if you guys are interested in signing up to SoRare, there is a referral down below. Once signing up and winning 5 cards on the bidding market, you will get yourself a free tradable limited card. Don't overpay on cards to get this free tradable card. It's only worth about £2 to £7. On top of that, you do have to be 18 to play SoRare because it is real life money, and that money is there to be lost as well as it is there to be made. Finally, if you guys are interested in watching me scout these players live on stream, I do stream SoRare from 7 PM every single day. So we had a lot of games to go through, and I've gone through every single game and every single player that had a good score. And just so you guys get an understanding, right? So yesterday's episode had games from here all the way to games here. Okay, so I had like this amount of games. Therefore, the research we've done is from here all the way down through all of these teams down to here. It is generally about like 3 hours of research. Again, we did a lot of it on stream last night, and then we've caught up with the games that I played overnight this morning. And yeah, as I say, I think last episode we had like 3 or 4 investments. This episode we have like 12, 13 ones, so there's loads and loads of players. So, without further ado, let's get underway with the first player. The first player is a player we bought loads of last week, and a player who we sold loads of before the game. We sold all of these for a slight loss, and then what's he gone and done? He's gone and had another good game. In fact, again, he started, which again wasn't happening previously, and he scored, which again wasn't happening previously. This allowed him to get a back-to-back score now of 65.7, which is very, very impressive, I'm not going to lie. Was definitely carried by a decisive this game. But yeah, not too bad. And now there wasn't much demand for him last time because he only played 1 game in a row. But now he's played 2 games in a row and pulled very, very good scores. I can actually see there being some pretty decent demand for him. There weren't any trends in last week where we can see that, again, someone didn't play loads of games and then play 2 really good games in a row. So you don't really have any previous knowledge to run off of. It's more just of a gamble. I mean, this is, again, slightly similar to the Baz Coupier sort of scores. But yeah, so that's the problem, is for a lot of people, they might not want to buy him because this will only save 40%. The score will still be 66, 67, and the L15 is all good because the highest score you can get for 8 combined scores is 326, and the highest he has is 318, which means it's all good for that. So the L15 going to be under 40, the L5 is going to be 66. The only problem is that he's only going to have a 40% completion, but hopefully people see that he's had 2 really good games in a row. He started both games, and as a result, there's a bit of demand. The second player we get to is Dejan Lujovic. He's going to put in a very nice score here of 62. That with the 65 right there gives him an L5 of 50. His L15 is all good as well. So yeah, the second player we've got right here, it is a midfielder. So it's the second midfielder on the list because what we learnt last week is if there's a oversaturation in one position, they don't do as well. It's one of the players with one of the best L5s with an L15 under 40 this week so far, and that is Maximilian Baird. Now this guy came in last week, and what he's done is he's got another really, really good score. I think this average is looking really, really nice. In fact, his L5 at the moment is 55, which is the highest so far. Again, his L15 is all good. I think he's like 15 points below, you know, what the highest he can be. But yeah, very, very impressive, especially as these are all from, all part 1, sorry, from all around. One's got a goal line clearance, and that was in a 6-1 loss against Leipzig. So yeah, but really, really good. I can see there being decent demand just due to the consistency. They are playing against Hoffenheim, which I guess are just a mediocre team, but there we go, Maximum Bayer. Then they get to another player, which is Luca Galdini. He's put himself a L5 of 50. He's on some pretty decent form at the moment. Was off of decisive, which we're never too much of a fan of. But yeah, I'd say pretty decent L5 coming in there, and coming in at about £7. So not too bad. L5 50 and an L15 once again staying under 40. So this guy's pretty interesting because I'm not actually buying this guy for the underdog and the limited. It's just this guy is on crazy form at the moment. Like, he's got no decisives, and he's got a 74 back-to-back with a 67, back-to-back with a 56, back-to-back with a 50, back-to-back with a 30. So this, like, progressive form is insane. On top of that, if he doesn't work well, the next game he's about to go and lose that 30, which means if he somehow pulled in yet another 50, his average right now is 56, but if he goes and pulls in, you know, a 50 again, he's up to about 60 average. And the guy at the moment is £5. So again, he's not fitting under the limited and underdog. When I was just scouting players, like, this guy's form was crazy. You know, and again, it's not coming from decisives as well, which means his all-round scores is just getting crazy. So what I'll probably do is just pick some of this guy up, just so I can kind of almost learn it as a new trend, as in, does a well-performing L5 player, you know, work well in comparison to underdogs and so on. But yeah, just a player I've found not fitting the underdog scheme, because again, he's not under L15 of 40, but yeah, just a crazy player for only £5. So we then move on to another card who's in the Ligue 1, and that is Maxime Boussy. Now let's go in and pulled in a L5 of 40. Now I did a little bit of research into him, because I was a bit interested why his scores fluctuate so much. And that's because Remis have absolutely no idea what they're doing when it comes to defence. Because half the time they play a 5 at the back and he's played as one of the wide centre-backs. Half the time they play more of a 3 at the back and he's played as like a right mid. And as a result, I think that's a little bit why his scores are all over the shop. Because as soon as they start playing him in right mid, obviously his all-round scores are, they're more negatively affected than if he plays in the defence. So, yeah, bit of a weird one going on with him, although his scores have been very consistent. 60, 54.8, 46.6, 55.8. He's about to lose that score. Well, sorry, he gets that score as well right there. But, yeah, really, really decent form on him. Obviously coming in at £21, so a little bit more expensive for someone who's pulling in a 51. But, yeah, I say, extremely, extremely consistent. So, a little bit of a scuffed one right here. We got ourselves Robbie Robinson. Now you've got a 29, a 55.5 and a 69.5, obviously being carried by a decisive. Yeah, so he's pulling in right now a L5 of 51, which isn't too bad. He's also a forward, and it's quite hard to get forwards for cheaper, because these guys very rarely have low L15s but are getting high scores, because obviously all their scores come from decisive, so they either hit or miss. But obviously what's happened here is he's come off of a spell of being subbed on, and now he's started to start games. So, yeah, so that's looking a little bit promising. Again, £20 player. There's not too many cheap players this week, which is a bit annoying, because part of the reason these work so well is because it's the cheap SO5 to enter. But, yeah, there you go. This guy right here, again, 51.5. Obviously, his L15 is way, way under 40 still. So, yeah, I mean, could even be a play you maybe want to hold on to and gamble that he'd, get another decisive in a game. So, a bit of a crazy one here, because this guy is £116, but he's pulled in a L5 of 55. He's the starting striker. He's getting quite consistent scores. Yeah, the problem with him is he definitely won't be eligible after their next game, so it's not like exactly a player that you can hold on to. And on top of that, he's £116. But he did actually have a really decent rise last week, if we look at last week. So, what you would have done is you would have bought around about here, which would have been, or bought around about here, let's say, which would have been like £100, and then going into it, it was 125. So, obviously, this is the sort of player where you've got to scout a cheap one for like 100, and then hope you can sell it for about 125 prior, or, going into it. So, not, I guess money efficient, but someone I was kind of debating getting him, because I do think he does look quite promising, especially we're onto the budget of about £800, where we can start doing things a little bit more risky. But again, very, very expensive player, but he does have a very good L5 in comparison to kind of what we have this week. Another player who we went and bought and sold last week, and he's going to have a pretty decent score again, pulling in a 45.6, which means he averages out as a L50, which is pretty decent. But yeah, again, you're going to have the same problem with Kemet, is are people going to want to use someone who has 40% in the L5? We saw last week that place where 20% had no demand. Again, this is the first week where we've actually got multiple players with 40%. But yeah, there you go, another player, very, very cheap as well, £3.70. You can see I sold mine, and then he decided to rise. So there you go, second player in a row now. And we've got ourselves a bit of a gamble player right here, and that's Alex Mule. Right now his L5 is currently 47, which isn't bad. But he's about to go and lose the 37 score and then go on to the 16, 50, 60, 70. Obviously a little bit better when he loses both of these scores. But yeah, just even next week, if he loses the 37, then all he's got to do is kind of push him to getting a 50 or even a 52, 55, which again, if his last two scores are anything to go by, and yeah, he'll get himself an L5 of 15, whilst not exceeding the L15 of 40. And now getting underway the final investment, and that is a Takeru Ogawara, who's gone and pulled in a L5 of 50. He's actually pretty decent, 49, 52, 64, 59, only one of them with a decisive, and then some decent all-round as a defender. So there you go. That is our last play again. We've literally scouted about 40-50 games. It's been pretty long, but we've managed to add a few nice players to our investing list. So that's going to be it for an episode. Tomorrow we'll be wrapping up all of these games. There's going to be another 30-40 games to cover. So yeah, it should be plenty of investments from that. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you guys tomorrow with another investing video.